Joining us for a little bit once again. He is back again. Always glad to have Shreveport Police Chief Ben Raymond. Hey, Chief Ben, welcome back to Kiel. How you doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
Big day yesterday. Mayor's office, City Hall, I guess. A lot of very important and a lot of very important law enforcement agency folks meeting with the mayor. Run it down for us again. Who was in the room? What did you guys talk about?
Yeah, so I don't want to leave anybody off, but it was the heads of the public safety agencies represented in Northwest Louisiana, and specifically that would have some jurisdiction in Shreveport. So it included, in addition to obviously myself with Shreveport Police, Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office, Louisiana State Police, Shreveport City Marshals, all the federal agencies, ATF, DEA, FBI, U.S. Marshals Service. Marshal Whitehorn was in the room. Representatives from the Caddo District Attorney as well as from the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Let me start. You still with us, by the way? Your phone just cut out.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's okay. Far be it from me to panic on a dime. Those are all the heavyweights in that one room. Are we at that point in Shreveport where this kind of meeting is needed?
Well, this is actually, so I've been in the position of chief of police for going on 8 months now. This is the third meeting of that nature that we've called, since I've been in this position. So it's not uncommon. About once a quarter, we have a meeting of those people mentioned, and it's just an opportunity to discuss, hey, what's going on with crime? Are we doing everything we can? Does anybody have any requests for additional resources? Are we missing the boat somewhere? This is no different than what some departments refer to as comp stat, what we refer to as a crime-focused meeting, where every 2 weeks I meet with my commanders, my captains. There's 14 of them that represent all the different divisions within the city, and we talk about what is the biggest crime concern within your district, what are you doing to solve it, and is it working? And this is kind of the same thing, but on a larger scale. I know Sheriff Prater made the comment, this is looking at the forest versus just dealing with a few trees. And so it's not, we're not doing this necessarily because there's additional concerns about crime, out of the ordinary, but it was an opportunity to say, hey, are we doing everything we can? And there's certainly been some concerns about the perception that crime is on the rise. In reality, crime is decreasing, but we want our citizens to feel safe as well as knowing that they are safe.
And yet one of the things you guys talked about, I would imagine, was the priority yesterday, and something that you don't necessarily cover or bring up all the time, is sort of a heightened law enforcement presence in Shreveport, and that would require the help of whom, and how far along is the plan?
Yeah, so we were just asking all the agencies I mentioned, have agents, deputies, troopers, officers, marshals that work within our jurisdiction. And it was just asking for additional support and for visibility. And of course, with that visibility would come crime enforcement efforts. And you also have some deterrence of crime just by having the increased law enforcement presence. So Sheriff Prater certainly said, he would ask his deputies or have his deputies provide more patrol, more routine patrol to include inside the city limits. The state police is certainly looking at their resources and what they might could allocate. And it wasn't really, we didn't go to the meeting and say, hey, we need you to mandate your agency to do this, or we need you to tell us exactly how many people you can provide us. It was, again, more of an opportunity. Let's just share some concerns with you, and I'm actually going to get some additional information back to those department heads about some of our crime stats. When are we having the highest number of calls for service? What areas appear to have the highest crime rates? And let them kind of determine, okay, we could probably afford to put a few more people in your area during these specific times. So, again, it's kind of taken an all-hands-in approach to increasing the presence of law enforcement in our city.
So what kind of particulars can you share with us as far as numbers of concerned, time frame? When will people notice these things around the city, if they're noticeable at all?
Well, and good key point you made, that if they're noticeable at all, we have special operations we run all the time, where we have an additional 10 to 15 officers on the streets that I don't know that anybody particularly knows that. So if you see a police car drive by your house, you're not going to know is that an officer that works here every day, or is that a special operation? But if you see a Caddo deputy or a Louisiana State Trooper or someone that appears to work for a federal law enforcement agency, that might be out of the ordinary for you. So we're hoping that people notice the increased presence, and we're looking at within the next couple of weeks, starting this initiative off. Again, I've got some additional information I need to provide those department heads. We don't want to just put people out in the streets. We want to put people out in the areas where we're having some problems and during times where we're having problems. And again, we hope that the presence is noticed.
Something like this came up, as I recall, during the Tyler administration. I mentioned this with Mayor Perkins yesterday. The offer was made, I think it was by Sheriff Prater. Maybe we can help out a little bit, and the city of Shreveport sort of balked at that idea. What has changed in the mindset of the police department or this mayor that sort of a little more open-armed, if you will, toward that idea?
Well, and I really can't, speak intelligently about anything that was done prior to about the last month and a half of Mayor Tyler's administration, because I wasn't in a leadership role from an operations standpoint. My job for the year and a half prior to taking this position was the chief administrative assistant. I mainly had administrative duties, budgets, and some of our civilian personnel oversight. So I wasn't privy to those conversations. I can't tell you what stance the department held at that time. I can tell you that I enjoy working closely with our law enforcement partners. I see the benefit of it. And not only them helping us, but we're always willing to help them. So if someone calls, we have agents assigned to all the federal agencies as task force officers. We have several task forces with the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office, and we talk to deputies, troopers, special agents outside of our agency on a daily basis. So I have absolutely no problem reaching out to them and certainly accepting their offers if they're willing to come and assist us with any crime problems that we have in the city. And Mayor Perkins is certainly supportive of that as well. He attends all the meetings we have.
How's about the rank and file, the boots on the ground, the officers in the SPD? How do they feel about this? Because as I recall, and bluntly speaking, I was told by a number of officers, and I'll tell you exactly what they said, that we don't really need the outside help. We could do our jobs if they'd let us do our jobs. Do you kind of have a sense of what that phrase means? And B, how do you think they feel about it now?
I hate to tell you what I think the phrase may mean, because I don't want to get it wrong. You really have to ask those officers. I can tell you that I have been very supportive of proactive policing efforts, which is just more engagement with the community. And I've never asked an officer not to enforce any laws that are on the books or not to do their job, so to speak. I'm a big proponent of stopping crimes, preventing crimes before they occur versus waiting for me to be dispatched to a call and having to investigate on the back end. But I haven't heard anything negative from our officers. I think everybody would be supportive of additional help. We're not reaching out saying, hey, we're not capable of solving the crime problem in Shreveport, or our officers not doing a good job. Our officers do an excellent job, and our crime stats show it. This is more of an effort to say, hey, the citizens would like an increased presence. We've put as many people in uniform capacity as we possibly can. And if there's an opportunity to provide additional law enforcement with some other resources, then we owe that to the citizens. But it's not by any way saying, hey, our officers aren't doing a good job and we can't handle it.
During the campaign, Mayor Perkins had talked about increasing the number of substations around the city. Did that come up at the meeting yesterday? Have you heard anything? Have there been discussions on that topic?
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of things in the work right now. Meeting with the bond committee about some proposals will be coming up, and I don't want to be out of line to speak about any of that at this point. But certainly we are looking at substations. Mayor and I have had conversations about it. He's supportive of putting patrol officers or putting more substations or additional police facilities throughout the city. And so we are looking strongly at that, at possibly putting a substation in each of our 4 areas that the city's divided up into. And then you would have officers report to those substations for their roll call. And you wouldn't have to, everybody would not have to come to a central police facility on a daily basis.